Chapter 1. Identifying inconsistencies in narratives. In the process of evaluating someone's narrative, it's crucial to detect inconsistencies, as these may indicate deception. Inconsistencies can appear in various forms, such as contradictory statements, sudden changes in tone, or details that seem misaligned with the overall story. To effectively identify these discrepancies, focus on a meticulous analysis of the narrative structure and the storyteller's behavior. First, pay close attention to the coherence of the story. Inconsistencies often arise in the timeline, locations involved, or the characters mentioned. For instance, a person may initially mention an event occurring in the morning, but later refer to it as happening in the evening. Such temporal discrepancies are red flags that require further scrutiny. Similarly, contradictions in describing locations or who was present during an event can provide critical clues about the veracity of the story. Second, observe the level of detail provided. Liars often find it challenging to invent and remember intricate details of a fabricated story, leading to vague or generalized descriptions. On the other hand, an honest narrative tends to include specific, consistent details that contribute to a believable and coherent recounting. Encourage the speaker to elaborate on details and watch for signs of discomfort or evasiveness, which may emerge when they are pushed to specify or clarify their story. Third, analyze the delivery of the narrative. A rehearsed story might sound overly smooth or scripted, lacking the natural pauses and considerations of genuine recounting. In contrast, spontaneous and sincere stories usually flow differently and include minor but realistic inconsistencies. Moreover, pay attention to how the individual reacts to unexpected questions that challenge their narrative. Defensive, nervous, or evasive responses can be indicative of deceit, whereas honest individuals will typically respond with confidence and provide clarifications without hesitation. Lastly, employ the universe principle by considering the narrative in the context of what is universally plausible. Assess whether the events, as described, could logically and realistically occur. This principle helps in distinguishing fabricated content from truth by aligning the story with common sense and general knowledge. By employing these techniques, you can more adeptly spot inconsistencies that may signal deceit, enabling you to make informed decisions based on a thorough and critical assessment of the information presented. Chapter 2. Interpreting avoidance of eye contact and fidgeting. Understanding body language is a critical skill in deciphering the truth behind someone's words. Particularly, the observation of eye contact and fidgeting behaviors can provide significant insights into a person's honesty. Avoidance of eye contact is commonly associated with deception. When lying, individuals might find it difficult to maintain steady eye contact, resulting in behaviors such as frequent blinking, looking away, or irregular eye movements that dart from one point to another. These patterns suggest discomfort with direct gaze, possibly due to the fear of being uncovered in a lie. Fidgeting, another physical manifestation to observe, often reflects inner turmoil and anxiety. This can include behaviors such as tapping feet on the ground, twisting fingers, playing with hair, or incessant adjustments to clothing. Such actions indicate that the individual is under stress, potentially stemming from the cognitive load of fabricating a story. It's important to note, however, that not all fidgeting and avoidance of eye contact are due to deceit. Some individuals might naturally exhibit these behaviors due to nervousness, shyness, or other psychological conditions unrelated to lying. To effectively use these observations, it's essential to consider them in conjunction with other indicators of deceit. For example, when questionable eye contact or fidgeting is paired with inconsistencies in the narrative, This correlation can strengthen suspicions of dishonesty. Furthermore, the context in which these behaviors occur plays a crucial role. In high-stress situations, even truthful individuals might display nervous behaviors. Therefore, the baseline behavior of a person should also be considered to distinguish between their normal and possibly deceptive actions. Employing the universe principle involves looking at these behaviors within the broader context of human interactions and psychological responses. Understanding that certain behaviors can be universally recognized as signs of discomfort or stress aids in interpreting these cues more effectively. By developing an awareness of how and why people exhibit certain behaviors when lying, one can better assess the likelihood of deception. In summary, while avoidance of eye contact and fidgeting are important indicators, they must be analyzed thoughtfully, considering the individual's baseline behaviors and the specific contexts. This holistic approach ensures a more accurate interpretation of potential deceit, enhancing your ability to make informed decisions based on comprehensive behavioral analysis. Chapter 3. Recognizing microexpressions related to fear or guilt. Microexpressions are brief, involuntary facial expressions that occur as fast as 1/25th of a second. They are crucial indicators of a person's true feelings and are especially useful in identifying emotions such as fear or guilt that an individual might attempt to conceal during interactions. These expressions are fleeting and often go unnoticed by the untrained eye, but learning to recognize them can significantly enhance your ability to understand underlying emotions in conversations, potentially revealing deceit. To detect microexpressions related to fear or guilt, concentrate on subtle changes in the facial muscles, particularly around the eyes. Fear often triggers a response where the upper eyelids are raised and the eyebrows are pulled up and together. The eyes might widen significantly as part of the instinctual fight or flight response. In contrast, guilt can manifest through a sideways glance, a slight pulling together of the eyebrows, or an eyelid flutter that indicates discomfort or an attempt to hide something. Additionally, the pupils are another telling factor. They may dilate due to increased arousal and concentration when a person is fearful or trying to suppress guilty feelings. Observing these changes requires keen attention to detail and timing. Microexpressions are most likely to appear at moments of stress or when the person mentions a topic they are trying to deceive about. Integrating the universe principle into the observation of microexpressions means considering these reactions in the broader context of human emotional responses. Universally, these expressions can indicate similar emotions across different people, making it possible to apply this knowledge broadly, regardless of individual differences. To effectively recognize and interpret microexpressions, practice is essential. Engage in exercises that involve watching videos designed to teach recognition of these quick facial movements, or participate in training sessions that use real-time feedback to help you identify and understand these subtle cues. By refining your ability to detect and interpret microexpressions, you enhance your interpersonal communication skills, enabling you to perceive what might not be explicitly stated and make more informed judgments about the truthfulness of the information being presented. Chapter 4. Understanding causes of defensive or aggressive responses. Defensive or aggressive behaviors often surface when individuals feel threatened or cornered, especially during conversations where their honesty is challenged. Recognizing the triggers and motivations behind these responses is crucial in discerning deceit and navigating complex interpersonal interactions. When individuals resort to defensiveness or aggression, it typically reflects an underlying desire to protect themselves from exposure or consequences associated with their actions or words. First, Observe the context in which defensiveness or aggression arises. Does the shift in tone or behavior occur when specific topics are broached? For instance, an individual might react defensively when questioned about inconsistencies in their account or when they perceive an accusation, implicit or explicit. This can manifest as quick denials, redirection of the conversation, or challenging the questioner's authority or credibility. Such reactions aim to deflect scrutiny and shift the focus away from their potential dishonesty. Aggressive responses, on the other hand, may include overt hostility, such as raising the voice, interrupting, or using disparaging remarks towards the converser. Like defensive reactions, aggression can serve as a tactic to intimidate the questioner and suppress further inquiry. It can also be a strategy to establish dominance in the conversation, thereby steering the dialogue away from their vulnerabilities or deceptive statements. To effectively handle and interpret these behaviors, adopt a calm and structured approach to questioning. Maintain neutrality and focus on factual inconsistencies or specific details rather than making personal accusations. This method reduces the likelihood of provoking defensive or aggressive reactions and can encourage more honest and open communication. Applying the universe principle involves understanding that defensive and aggressive responses are common human reactions to stress or threat, regardless of cultural or personal backgrounds. By recognizing these as typical behavioral responses in high-stakes situations, you can better navigate the conversation toward a resolution that seeks truth, while also maintaining a respectful and constructive dialogue. By enhancing your ability to detect and understand defensive or aggressive behaviors, you not only improve your skills in identifying deceit, but also in managing interpersonal conflicts, leading to more effective and insightful interactions. Chapter 5. Analyzing incongruence in body language. The alignment, or lack thereof, between what individuals say and how they physically respond, plays a crucial role in identifying deceit. Incongruences between verbal claims and non-verbal cues are often telltale signs of dishonesty. This chapter explores how to scrutinize these discrepancies effectively to detect potential lies. When observing someone for signs of deception, it is vital to look for mismatches in their body language that contradict their spoken words. For example, someone might verbally express enthusiasm about a project or opportunity, stating they are eager or excited. However, if their facial expressions are subdued or their body appears tense and closed off, such as crossed arms or a lack of eye contact, this disparity can indicate that their true feelings do not align with their words. Similarly, claims of comfort or familiarity with a subject might be undermined by visible signs of discomfort, such as fidgeting, excessive blinking, or shifting posture. These behaviors can be indicative of anxiety, stress, or the cognitive burden of maintaining a lie. It is also beneficial to pay close attention to microexpressions, those fleeting, involuntary facial expressions that momentarily reveal one's true emotions, such as flashes of anger, fear, or contempt that contradict a calm or happy facade. Furthermore, analyzing the congruence between someone's gestures and their statements can provide additional clues. For instance, a person might assert their honesty while simultaneously performing self-soothing gestures like rubbing their hands or touching their neck, which can suggest nervousness or uncertainty. To effectively analyze body language, adopt an objective and systematic approach. Train yourself to observe and interpret various nonverbal cues while listening actively. Comparing these observations against verbal statements will allow you to identify discrepancies that may signal deceit. Employing the universe principle, understand that the human body naturally reacts to stress and deception in universally recognizable ways. This principle helps contextualize observed behaviors within the broader spectrum of human psychological responses, enhancing the reliability of your interpretations. By developing a keen eye for incongruences in body language, you enhance your ability to discern truth from deception, thereby making more informed and accurate assessments in both personal and professional interactions. Chapter 6. Noticing shifts in vocal tone or pitch. Vocal cues are as critical as body language in the detection of deceit. Shifts in tone, pitch, and speech patterns often reveal more about a person's truthfulness than their words alone might suggest. This chapter delves into how subtle changes in voice can indicate dishonesty, and how to effectively listen and interpret these signs to uncover the truth. When someone speaks untruthfully, involuntary changes in their voice can occur. For instance, stress and anxiety associated with lying can cause a person's vocal tone to alter, becoming unusually high or low. A higher pitch might indicate tension or fear, while a lower pitch could be an attempt to sound more authoritative or convincing. Additionally, the voice might take on a nasal or whiny quality, further signaling discomfort or stress. Pay attention also to the pace of speech. A liar might speed up to get through the deceptive part quickly, or slow down, searching for plausible details or phrasing. Both can be accompanied by frequent pauses as the speaker tries to think on their feet. These disruptions in the normal rhythm of speech often contrast sharply with their usual speaking pattern. Furthermore, listen for changes in volume and cadence. A sudden increase in volume might be an attempt to assert falsehoods with overconfidence, while a drop in volume could indicate uncertainty or guilt. Cadence, or the melody of speech, can also become unusually monotone or erratic, further indicating that something is amiss. To detect these vocal discrepancies effectively, it is crucial to have a baseline understanding of how a person typically speaks in relaxed or stress-free situations. This baseline provides a comparative measure that can make abnormalities stand out more clearly. Employing the universe principle, recognize that certain vocal responses to stress or deception are common across different cultures and individuals. These universal patterns of vocal change provide a reliable framework for identifying when someone's words may not align with their true intentions or feelings. By honing your ability to discern these vocal nuances, you enhance your overall capability to detect deception. This skill not only aids in personal interactions but also serves in professional contexts where the stakes of uncovering the truth can be high. Chapter 7. Decoding vagueness and detail scarcity in communication. In many interactions, the tendency of individuals to provide vague or evasive responses can be a significant indicator of deceit. Vagueness serves as a protective mechanism, allowing the speaker to avoid lying directly while still shielding the truth. This chapter focuses on identifying and interpreting these ambiguous communications as potential signs of dishonesty. When engaging in conversation, be attentive to how much detail the other person provides. A common tactic among those who wish to deceive is to offer only minimal information, enough to respond to a question, but not enough to reveal the full story. Such responses are typically generic, lacking the specificity that would make them verifiable. This might involve using qualifiers like sort of, maybe, or I guess, which undermine the clarity of the statement. Additionally, a reluctance to elaborate upon direct questioning can also signal dishonesty. When pressed for details, a deceptive person might change the subject, repeat the same vague answers, or even respond with questions of their own, redirecting the focus away from themselves. This scarcity of detail often means the individual is trying to avoid creating more fabrications that could later be caught out, reducing their cognitive load. To effectively deal with vagueness, it is crucial to employ strategic follow-up questions. Ask open-ended questions that require more than yes or no answers. Encourage the speaker to provide examples or explain the process involved in their story. Such questioning techniques not only press the individual for more information, but also create a scenario where it's harder for them to maintain a lie without adding inconsistencies. Employing the universe principle, understand that vagueness and evasive communication are commonly used globally as strategies to avoid confrontation or accountability. Recognizing these patterns as part of a broader human behavior can help in effectively navigating through them to uncover the truth. By enhancing your ability to decode vague communications, you not only improve your interpersonal communication skills, but also develop a keener insight into the motives and truthfulness of those you interact with. This awareness is invaluable in personal relationships, business negotiations, and in discerning the reliability of information in various contexts. Chapter 8. Assessing repetitions in questions and statements. Repetition in dialogue can be a significant behavioral cue in communication, particularly in identifying evasion or dishonesty. This chapter explores how repetitive questions and statements can act as indicators of deceit, and how to interpret these signs effectively to discern the truth. When a conversation involves critical questioning, pay close attention to how the other person responds. One common tactic used by those who wish to deceive is to repeat the question posed to them. This act serves multiple purposes. It gives the speaker additional time to think, allows them to clarify the question to their advantage, and can be a stalling technique to formulate a believable answer. Similarly, altering the phrasing of a question can redirect the conversation away from the areas where they feel vulnerable or unprepared. Moreover, listen for the repetition of specific phrases or statements within their responses. When individuals repeat certain words or phrases multiple times, it can suggest a rehearsed response, aimed more at self-assurance or convincing the listener rather than conveying genuine information. Such repetitions might also indicate an attempt to reinforce a lie by embedding it more deeply into the conversation, hoping repetition will make it seem more believable. To assess repetitions effectively, it is crucial to maintain a keen ear during conversations and not allow repetitive language to go unchallenged. Follow up with questions that require more detailed responses or ask for clarification on points that are being repeated. This approach not only disrupts the pattern, but also increases the cognitive load on the deceiver, making it more difficult for them to maintain their facade. Using the universe principle, recognize that the use of repetition as a defensive or deceptive tactic is a common psychological response across different cultures and situations. It reflects a universal aspect of human behavior when faced with the stress of being challenged or accused. By understanding and identifying repetitive patterns in speech, you enhance your ability to detect dishonesty and can navigate more effectively towards uncovering the truth. This skill is invaluable in both personal and professional interactions, where clarity and honesty are paramount. Chapter 9. Evaluating the significance of covering mouth or face. Covering the mouth or face during a conversation is a nonverbal cue that can often indicate deception, anxiety, or an attempt to hide one's true emotions. This chapter delves into how to interpret this behavior effectively within the context of communication, distinguishing between signs of dishonesty and other potential causes for such gestures. When someone covers their mouth or face, particularly in response to questions or when providing information, it may signal that they are trying to block a truthful response or conceal an emotional reaction. This gesture is frequently associated with a subconscious desire to cover up a lie or to prevent the observer from detecting falsehoods. Similarly, covering the face, especially the mouth, can also occur as a physical manifestation of the internal conflict between telling the truth and lying, as the hands reflexively move to shield the face when a person feels exposed or vulnerable. However, it is important to consider the individual's baseline behavior and the specific context in which this action occurs. Some individuals might cover their mouth or face as part of a habitual gesture when they are nervous, regardless of being truthful or deceptive. Others may do so due to shyness or as a reflexive response to being the center of attention, not necessarily linked to any deceptive intent. To accurately assess whether covering the mouth or face is an indicator of deception, observe the consistency and timing of this behavior. Does this action coincide with certain types of questions or topics? Is it accompanied by other indicators of nervousness or deceit, such as shifting eyes, fidgeting, or inconsistent verbal responses? Answering these questions can provide clearer insights into whether the behavior is a deliberate attempt to conceal dishonesty or simply a personal idiosyncrasy. Using the universe principle, recognize that while certain behaviors like covering the mouth or face can indicate deception, these are part of a broader spectrum of human responses to stress and anxiety, common across different cultures and individuals. Understanding this helps in applying a balanced approach to interpreting these cues, taking into account the universal nature of such reactions while carefully considering the individual characteristics and the situation at hand. By developing a nuanced understanding of this and other nonverbal cues, you can more effectively discern true intentions in your interactions, enhancing both your personal and professional communication skills. Chapter 10. Distinguishing relevance of emphasized information. In conversations, particularly those involving critical discussions or negotiations, the way information is presented can reveal much about a person's intentions and truthfulness. Emphasized information, when used strategically, can either strengthen a genuine argument or serve as a cover for deceit. Understanding the distinction between sincere emphasis and manipulative emphasis is key to discerning the truth. When someone emphasizes particular details, it's essential to evaluate the context and purpose of the emphasis. Liars often overemphasize certain aspects of their story in an attempt to make their lies more convincing. This can manifest as overly detailed explanations for simple questions, stressing specific points that seem inconsequential, or repeating certain facts unnecessarily. Such emphasis might come across as forced or rehearsed, which can be a cue that the speaker is attempting to manipulate the listener's perception. Conversely, genuine conviction is usually marked by a natural, fluid delivery. When individuals speak with true conviction, their emphasis naturally aligns with the importance of the information. Their tone remains steady and confident without appearing defensive or overly forceful. They provide necessary details that directly relate to the topic at hand, enhancing understanding rather than clouding it with irrelevant data. To effectively distinguish between deceitful and genuine emphasis, pay close attention to the speaker's tone and body language. Does their emphasis coincide with visible signs of anxiety, such as fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or defensive postures? Or do they maintain open, relaxed body language, demonstrating comfort with their statements? Moreover, assess the relevance of the emphasized information. Does it directly contribute to the topic, or does it seem like a distraction? Often, deceptive individuals will insert excessive details or stress certain points to divert attention from areas of weakness in their story. Applying the universe principle, remember that while the tactics of emphasis may vary across different cultures and individuals, the underlying psychological mechanisms driving them, such as the desire to persuade or deceive, are universally common. Recognizing these patterns can help you navigate through conversations with a more critical and informed perspective, allowing you to make judgments based on a deeper understanding of human communication behaviors. This skill is invaluable in both personal relationships and professional environments, where clarity and honesty are paramount. Chapter 11. Investigating alibi inconsistencies for clarity. When evaluating the credibility of an individual's alibi, it's critical to thoroughly investigate any inconsistencies that arise. An alibi serves as a defense mechanism, providing an explanation for one's whereabouts at the time of an incident. However, discrepancies within an alibi can be telling indicators of deception. Understanding how to probe these inconsistencies effectively can be pivotal in uncovering the truth. Begin by establishing a clear understanding of the alibi's timeline and the main events as described by the person. Note the specific times, locations, and other involved parties they mention. This foundational narrative sets the stage for a deeper investigation. From there, examine the alibi for any contradictions in the story itself or when cross-referenced with other available evidence such as witness statements, physical evidence, or digital data, GPS phone records. Follow-up questions are essential for clarifying vague or incomplete parts of their story. These questions should be direct and specific, aiming to fill the gaps in the narrative. Pay close attention to how the individual reacts to these questions. Do they provide clear, consistent answers, or do they exhibit signs of evasion or discomfort, such as hesitancy in response, changing the subject, or contradicting earlier statements? These behavioral cues can be significant in assessing the reliability of their account. Moreover, compare their narrative consistency across different conversations. Liars often find it challenging to maintain a consistent story over time, especially when the fabricated details are complex. Revisiting details over multiple discussions can reveal variations in the story that may point to deceit. Utilizing the universe principle, acknowledge that while the specifics of an alibi will vary greatly between different situations, the general patterns of human behavior when lying, such as inconsistency, defensiveness, and anxiety, remain largely universal. This understanding can guide your approach to questioning and evaluating the truthfulness of an alibi. By methodically analyzing the details and consistency of an alibi and recognizing the common signs of deceptive behavior, you enhance your ability to discern truth from falsehood. This approach not only aids in personal discernment, but also supports professional roles involving investigative responsibilities, ensuring decisions are based on thorough and critical evaluation. Chapter 12. Observing variations in emotional responses. After pinpointing inconsistencies in an individual's alibi, it's equally important to scrutinize their emotional reactions. Emotional responses can provide crucial clues in detecting deceit, as people typically exhibit stress or discomfort when their falsehoods are challenged. This chapter focuses on how to observe and interpret these emotional variations effectively. Begin by closely monitoring the person's demeanor when they are confronted with discrepancies in their story. Do they exhibit signs of anxiety, such as nervous laughter, sweating, or averted gaze? Alternatively, some may react with excessive calmness, which can also be a red flag indicating a rehearsed or suppressed response. Such overly controlled emotions can suggest an attempt to mask true feelings and maintain control over the narrative. Pay attention to the subtleties in their voice. Changes in tone, speed, and pitch can reveal underlying stress or panic. A higher pitch, stammering, or speaking more rapidly than usual can indicate nervousness, while a monotone or unusually slow speech might suggest an effort to conceal anxiety or fabricate details. Observe their body language for additional insights. Are there discrepancies between what they say and how they say it? For instance, someone claiming calmness while displaying closed-off body language, crossed arms, clenched fists, or excessive fidgeting may not be as composed as they profess. Also note if they make less eye contact than usual or if their facial expressions contradict the emotions they verbalize. Comparative analysis is also vital. If possible, compare their current emotional responses to past interactions under similar stress levels. This comparison can illuminate whether their current behavior is out of character. Individuals who are lying might show either diminished or exaggerated emotional responses compared to their typical behavior in similar situations. By employing the universe principle, acknowledge that while emotional reactions can vary widely among individuals, the presence of stress-induced behaviors linked to deception is a common human trait across different contexts and cultures. Understanding this helps in interpreting these signs within a broader, more universal framework of human behavior. By developing the skill to assess emotional inconsistencies sensitively and accurately, you enhance your ability to discern sincerity and deception. This capability not only aids personal interactions but is also invaluable in professional settings where credibility assessment is crucial. Chapter 13. Examining patterns of denial or minimization. Denial and minimization are common defensive strategies that individuals might use when confronted with uncomfortable truths or accusations. Recognizing and understanding these patterns are crucial for discerning honesty in interactions, particularly in situations where deception might be involved. This chapter explores how to effectively identify and interpret patterns of denial or minimization to gauge a person's sincerity. When engaging with someone who may be dishonest, closely observe how they respond to direct accusations or compelling evidence against them. Individuals who are deceitful often resort to denying any wrongdoing outright or minimizing their involvement or the impact of their actions. For example, statements like, "I didn't do anything wrong," or "it's not a big deal," are typical of someone trying to deflect attention away from their actions. Listen for excuses or shifting of blame as another indicator of dishonest behavior. A deceptive person might attribute their actions to external factors or other people, suggesting they had little control over the situation. This deflection is a tactic to evade personal accountability by placing responsibility elsewhere. It's also insightful to pay attention to how they handle specific questions about their actions. Do they provide clear, direct answers, or do they offer vague, ambiguous responses? A pattern of vague responses or changing the subject away from the accusation can further suggest an attempt to obscure the truth. To effectively assess these patterns, it's helpful to compare their current responses to their typical behavior in similar situations. This comparison can reveal inconsistencies that are telltale signs of deceit. Additionally, employing the universe principle can provide broader context. This principle suggests that while the specifics of denial or minimization may vary, the underlying psychological mechanisms driving these behaviors, such as the desire to protect oneself from negative consequences, are common across different cultures and individual backgrounds. By enhancing your ability to detect and understand denial and minimization tactics, you can more accurately discern whether someone is being truthful or attempting to deceive. This skill is invaluable not only in personal relationships but also in professional environments, where integrity and transparency are critical. Chapter 14. Interpreting over-politeness or cooperative extremes. Over-politeness or excessive cooperation can sometimes serve as a red flag in interpersonal interactions, particularly when it feels disproportionate to the situation. This chapter focuses on how to discern genuine cooperation from strategic, excessive politeness used potentially to deceive or manipulate. When someone is overly polite or extremely cooperative, it might initially seem like a positive interaction trait. However, it's important to consider why an individual might adopt such an approach. Excessive accommodation can be a tactic used to gain favor, distract from underlying issues, or avoid conflict by suppressing genuine concerns or disagreements. This behavior might manifest through constant agreement, an eagerness to comply with requests, or an avoidance of expressing any dissenting opinions, even when such dissent would be reasonable or expected. To effectively interpret these behaviors, pay close attention to the context and compare it with the person's usual communication style. Is their politeness or cooperativeness consistent with how they interact in other situations? Discrepancies here could suggest they are playing a role to achieve a specific outcome. Moreover, observe accompanying nonverbal cues. Signs of discomfort, such as fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or nervous gestures, can indicate that their excessive politeness is not driven by genuine sentiment. These physical signs often betray inner conflict or deceit, especially when someone's words do not align with their body language. It's also beneficial to consider the timing of their cooperativeness. Does it increase when they are particularly vulnerable or when specific topics are addressed? Such timing can indicate a strategic use of politeness to shift perceptions or steer conversations away from sensitive topics. Buying the universe principle, recognize that while cultural norms for politeness and cooperation vary widely, the use of these behaviors to manipulate or deceive is a common tactic across different contexts. Understanding this can help you navigate interactions more effectively, ensuring you are responding not just to surface behaviors, but to the underlying intentions they may mask. By maintaining a critical perspective on over-politeness and excessive cooperation, you can better determine when these traits are part of a genuine interaction style or when they might be signals of deceit. This discernment is crucial for building healthy, honest relationships and for conducting effective negotiations where clear, open communication is paramount. Chapter 15. Correlating words with actions for consistency. Consistency between what a person says and what they do is a crucial indicator of their honesty and reliability. This chapter explores how to effectively assess the alignment of words with actions to determine a person's trustworthiness. Understanding this consistency is vital in both personal and professional relationships, as it helps gauge the sincerity and integrity of the individuals involved. When evaluating someone's reliability, closely monitor their behavior over time. Are they following through on what they promise? When they commit to actions, do they see them through? For example, if someone frequently promises to deliver work on time but consistently fails to meet deadlines, this inconsistency highlights a disconnect between their words and their actions. Similarly, if an individual claims to value honesty but is frequently caught in lies, this misalignment is a significant red flag. Another aspect to consider is how individuals handle responsibility, especially when mistakes or setbacks occur. Do they stand by their words and accept accountability, or do they deflect blame onto others? A person who is quick to take responsibility for their actions typically demonstrates a higher level of sincerity and integrity. In contrast, those who make excuses or shift blame may be showing signs of insincerity or even deceit. To effectively correlate words with actions, it's beneficial to observe these behaviors in various circumstances. This helps establish a pattern that can provide a more comprehensive understanding of a person's character. Be mindful, however, of the complexity of human behavior. People can change, and isolated incidents should not always be taken as definitive proof of character. Employing the universe principle, understand that while the specifics of behavior can vary widely among individuals, the expectation that actions should align with words is a universally recognized standard of trustworthy behavior. This principle can serve as a guide when assessing consistency, helping you to discern genuine sincerity from deceit. By carefully observing and correlating words with actions, you develop a clearer sense of whether someone's stated intentions align with their behaviors. This ability to discern consistency is crucial for building and maintaining trustful relationships, making decisions about whom to trust, and navigating interactions effectively. Chapter 16. Recognizing stalling or delay tactics in responses. Encountering stalling or delay tactics in conversation is a common issue, especially when the stakes are high. Individuals may use these tactics to gain time, avoid giving a direct answer, or sidestep uncomfortable truths. Recognizing these behaviors is essential for navigating conversations effectively and uncovering potential deceit. This chapter focuses on how to identify and respond to such tactics to maintain the integrity and productivity of discussions. When someone employs stalling tactics, the responses often lack directness or relevance to the question asked. For instance, they might repeat the question verbatim or with slight modifications, pretending to seek clarity as a means to buy time to think of an answer. Similarly, an abrupt topic change right after a question is posed can serve to divert the conversation away from a sensitive subject they wish to avoid. Another common tactic is providing answers that are vague or overly broad. Such responses are designed to evade specifics that might be incriminating or revealing. For example, in a professional setting, when asked about the progress of a project, someone might say, "We're all doing our best," instead of giving a clear update on actual milestones or challenges faced. This lack of specificity can be a strategic move to avoid accountability or deeper scrutiny. It's also important to pay attention to nonverbal cues that accompany verbal stalling. Watch for signs of discomfort, such as fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or unnatural pauses in speech. These physical manifestations can indicate that the person is under stress due to the conversation, further suggesting that their evasive responses might be intentional. To counteract these tactics, ask follow-up questions that require more detailed answers, or gently steer the conversation back to the original topic if it drifts. Phrasing questions in a way that limits the scope for vague answers can also be effective. For example, instead of asking, "How is the project going?" ask, "What specific tasks have been completed this week?" Using the universe principle, recognize that while the methods of stalling may vary across different cultures and individual personalities, the underlying reason, avoidance of truth or delay in response, is a universally common behavior when faced with potential exposure or consequences. By enhancing your ability to detect and address stalling or delay tactics, you empower yourself to guide conversations towards more truthful, productive outcomes, whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or other interactions where clarity and honesty are paramount. Chapter 17. Evaluating the implications of excessive information sharing. Excessive information sharing in conversations can sometimes serve as a red flag, especially when it appears disproportionate or irrelevant to the discussion at hand. Often, individuals might overshare as a way to convince others of their honesty or to justify their actions. which can inadvertently reveal more about their intentions than they intend. This chapter explores how to critically assess whether someone's profusion of details is a genuine effort at transparency or a manipulative tactic to mislead. When someone provides an abundance of details, it's important to consider the context of the conversation. Are the details relevant and helpful, or do they seem to serve as a diversion from critical topics? Excessive elaboration can be a deliberate strategy used to overwhelm the listener with information, making it difficult to question the veracity of the overall narrative. For example, in a professional setting, a team member might give a detailed account of every minor task they performed, potentially to cover up incomplete major responsibilities. Furthermore, observe the manner in which the information is presented. Does it feel rehearsed? Does the individual seem to be reciting a script rather than engaging in a natural and spontaneous dialogue? Often, rehearsed narratives include unnecessary details that serve no purpose other than to create an illusion of openness and thoroughness. Another aspect to watch for is defensiveness. An overly defensive attitude combined with a torrent of details can indicate that the person feels threatened and is attempting to fortify their position by any means necessary, including deception. For instance, someone accused of a mistake might begin recounting unrelated successes or tasks they have completed well in the past, diverting attention and seeking to mitigate the impact of the current issue. To effectively navigate such situations, it's useful to ask pointed questions that require specific answers. This approach can help cut through the clutter of unnecessary information and focus the discussion on what is truly relevant. Applying the universe principle, recognize that while the tendency to overshare can vary across different cultural or personal backgrounds, the psychological drive behind it, whether for self-defense, distraction, or deceit, is a common human behavior. Understanding this can aid in discerning the true motive behind the flood of information. By developing the ability to critically evaluate excessive information sharing, you enhance your capability to detect sincerity or deceit, enabling more informed decision-making in both personal and professional interactions. Throughout this exploration of deceit detection, we've uncovered various signals that can indicate dishonesty. However, it's important to approach the interpretation of these signals with caution, especially considering that nervousness or social awkwardness can sometimes mimic the signs of deceit. To differentiate between genuine deceit and harmless anxiety, it's crucial to look for clusters of signals rather than isolated behaviors. Detecting deceit effectively requires a holistic approach. Remember, behaviors like avoidance of eye contact, inconsistency in stories, excessive politeness, or stalling in conversation rarely occur in isolation when someone is being deceptive. Seeing multiple indicators in tandem can provide a clearer, more reliable signal that something is amiss. To enhance your skills, practice is essential. Engage actively in everyday conversations and observe not just what is being said, but how it's being said. Pay attention to body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. As you hone your observational abilities, your capacity to discern truth from deceit will improve, enabling you to make more informed decisions. Utilizing the universe principle, consider that while the specific indicators of deceit may vary across different cultures and individuals, the underlying behaviors driven by an intent to deceive are universally recognized. This global perspective aids in understanding and interpreting the signals more effectively, ensuring a balanced and informed approach in your interactions.